What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So as most of you know or have seen from my previous video, I've really been getting into gardening, in particular hydroponics. Well, today I'm excited because a Kickstarter company called LetPot just sent me this new smart hydroponic system, the LPH-Pro, to unbox, test out, and review. Now this isn't like my previous DIY hydroponic systems that I built, but instead it's a tabletop app-controlled smart hydroponic system, which seems pretty cool. And what's nice about this hydroponic system is that it's got a built-in 24-watt LED so that you can place this on your kitchen countertop and grow your vegetables indoors without the need of any kind of natural sunlight. Stay tuned and we'll go ahead and check this thing out. Okay, so from the looks of it, this box got pretty banged up during shipping, so hopefully everything still works fine and nothing is damaged within the box itself. So lately, I'm finding that growing my own vegetables and fruits is not only a good stress-relieving activity, but the fruits and vegetables that I produce through hydroponics actually taste better as well. They taste more fresh, they taste sweeter, they taste more flavorful. Basically everything that I've grown through hydroponics just tastes better in general. And in addition to that, lately because of inflation and prices just continuing to increase at the grocery stores, I also find it helpful to be growing my own vegetables and fruit using these hydroponic systems. It's just cheaper, more affordable, and more efficient. So for starters, this hydroponic system from LetPot is currently selling for a little bit under $200 on their website. Now after this review, if you're interested in buying one for yourself, I'll go ahead and leave a link to it in the description section below. Now I know $200 for a hydroponic system of this size seems like a lot, but I'm assuming there's a lot of stuff that comes with this system that makes it worth that price, but we'll go ahead and see. In addition to that, this looks like a promotional price that's marked down from an original price of $285, so I'm not sure how long this price will last. So looking at the basic specs, at least on the box itself, it looks like this thing can handle about 15 pods for a variety of different plants and fruits. It's got two grow modes, so you can either grow vegetables or flowers. And I guess between vegetables, it means vegetables or fruit or flowers. It's got a 24-hour water pump system, so it can continuously water and keep these plants hydrated for 24 hours, enough water at least that cycles around. It's got console operation, which I guess means that it can be controlled by the apps itself. It does have a 24-watt LED grow light that hovers above the plant growth itself, so that's nice, and I guess in itself makes it a little bit worth the $200. It's got a 10.24 to 34.25 inch extendable light rod, so I guess dependent on how full the growth is of your plants that you're growing, you can extend the light either higher or lower, which is good so you don't end up burning your lights because there's too much light on a specific area. So you can adjust the amount of light that's distributed. It's got I guess this is like a thermometer, so you can moderate the temperature, and it can be switched between either Celsius or Fahrenheit. Okay, so minus the box being just completely beat up, it does also have a handle for easily carrying this thing around. So let's go ahead and unbox this and see what this thing actually comes with. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this. All right, so first glance, looks like you get the directions. So this talks about the directions, I guess, for the plant food. So I'm assuming this does come with some nutrients that you can feed the plant with. So there's an A, B plant food. So I guess it depends on plant, vegetables, or fruit that you're growing within this hydroponic system itself. You get your instruction manual, which is printed out in a little pamphlet, which we'll go ahead and read a little bit later. And then of course you get the hydroponic system itself, which is secured by some styrofoam. So let's see how we're going to remove this. Probably easier if I slide it out. All right, so to figure out, this is probably the right side up. Okay, so it looks like it comes with a base. Oh, this is the light, okay. So this is the light. Looks like it's a bunch of LED lights on it. It's taped together. I guess this is for the plant food and the nutrients. Okay, so at first glance, actually at first touch, this thing is made of plastic. I mean, it's not cheap feeling, so it's a durable type of plastic. All right, so you've got what looks like an egg cratered top, and which is where you would place all the pods. So it looks like it's got those smaller pods in there. Oh, these are long pods, so I thought they would be the short pods. So these are some long pods, which I guess you put the... Okay, so it looks like it gives you, they provide you this styrofoam like cocoa core. Well, actually it's just styrofoam like sponge-like material which goes into these pods itself. So this is a sponge-like material that goes into each pod where the seeds will go. And I guess as they get wet they expand as well, so not bad. You get little lids, I guess, for the pods, or to cover up the holes at least. So it looks like these lids are used for covering the pods themselves if they're not in use. I guess that keeps the water from evaporating. So these are the cups. And then there's little, so you got these little clear plastic covers that go on the pods themselves, which you would use when you're germinating your seeds to keep the seeds moist, I guess. You would keep the moisture inside the chamber itself, just to make sure that you're germinating the seeds properly and giving them a good fresh start. Then you just simply remove them when you start to see sprouts. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so looks like you get 15 pots for the 15 different holes. And you also get 15 covers as well. This is the arm for the LED. So it's got this little protective cover on it, I guess to protect the, to protect the connectors. It's got a rubber O-ring around it, I guess to protect it from any kind of water damage. Same thing here for the top. Okay, so should go in only one way. So you match up the two arrows and it snaps in place. Same thing with the LED itself, which I would assume also snaps in place. Okay, you also get plant food. So plant food A, plant food B. So plant food B is for herbs, vegetables, flowers, and more. For herbs, vegetables, flowers, and more. Okay, so we'll need to see what the difference is between the two A and B. Looks like inside you've got a pump, a small little pump. So this thing does raise pretty high, as you can see. And underneath, inside, you've got this little miniature pump, which you can connect to this power adapter. Okay, so it looks like inside you've got this pump that's surrounded by this foam to, I guess, absorb any kind of water. So let's go ahead and put that back in place. Looks like it fell off during shipping, but simply just lock it back down in place. But I'm assuming the pump itself is waterproof. So there's that. So it's got some sponge-like material, I guess, as to be used as a filter. And then you would plug this end into the pump itself. There's a little pump section on here where you plug the pump into, and then there's a little port where you would plug the power adapter to. Okay, so we'll go ahead and remove that, and then It's got a little indentation here for the power cable to come out for the pump itself. So this is what it would look like completely set up. Go ahead and put this lid back on, the LED back on, and then shrink it back down. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this hydroponic unit from LetPot. I'll go ahead and remove this top LED panel first for now, just until we've got this all set up, I guess. So as you can see, there is a front panel on this hydroponic unit itself. So you've got a power button, a button that's labeled plant, a button that's labeled pump, a button that's labeled Celsius up, and then of course Fahrenheit down. Then you've got a setup button. So let's go ahead and see what each of these things are. So the power button of course turns it on and off. The plant button switches between the different types of plants you're going to be using. So whether this is either a vegetable, fruit, or flowers, allows you to determine or specify which plant you're growing within this hydroponic unit. There's a pump mode shift switch, which is, okay, so it turns on the pump cycle, with the initial being 30 minutes on and 30 minutes off. If you press it once, and then there's a 12-hour sleep mode. So you can basically either turn the pump function on or off. And when it's on, it goes through a 30-minute on cycle and then automatically turns off for 30 minutes and then comes back on for 30 minutes and then goes off for 30 minutes. If you long press this pump button, you can put it into a 12-hour sleeping mode so it won't continue to, I guess, water the plants that you have within the hydroponic system itself. So it's kind of, you know, giving the pump a break. And if you're, let's say if you're overwatering, I guess. The Celsius up. Okay, so the Celsius button adjusts the number of plant days, which you can adjust up or down. I guess that depends on whatever you're growing on this hydroponics unit as well. The setup button allows you to change the options of the different buttons you're pressing. It also allows you to connect it to this device to the app itself. So various different settings. The Fahrenheit down button. Okay, so the Celsius button and Fahrenheit also allow you to switch between Celsius and Fahrenheit. And typically, you know, because I'm in the US here, I'm going to be using Fahrenheit because that's something I'm used to. And that also allows you to adjust the number of planting days up or down as well. Okay. All right, so in this, there is a max level that you should fill the water, so you shouldn't fill it beyond this point where it says max. In addition to that, you know, there's the cover, just so you can, I guess, take it off and remove it when you need to refill this tank. That way, because these pods are all going to be covered up when you've got plants in them, so removing this cover just allows you to fill the reservoir up with water when it's needed. Okay, and I did find out what the different plant foods are between A and B. So looks like A has more nutrients, different types of nutrients and minerals in it from what B has. So I guess depending on which type of plants or vegetables or flowers you're trying to grow will determine which plant food bottle you use. And what's good about these is they're solid plant food, so all you have to do is dilute them, shake them up, and it becomes the right amount of nutrients that you need to use. You have the caps of each of these are measuring cups, so you can always make sure that you're putting the right amount of nutrients into the tank itself. And I guess it does tell you how much you should put in there. So it gives you the measurements on the back. So 1 liter of water equals 5 milliliters of A, 5 milliliters of B. So it does give you the measurements there of how much nutrients to put within this hydroponic system. Okay, so it does say precautions. So the nutrient particles do have a storage life of 2 years in unopened bottles. So let's see, the well-mixed nutrient solutions, once you mix them up, has a storage life of about 5 months without exposure to sunlight. So, you know, these you should use within a certain amount of time. I mean, I assume that most of it's going to be used if you're constantly maintaining and keeping up with filling this tank up with water. Okay, so it looks like the sponges themselves, which you put the seeds in, they can be reused, but it does say that the quality of the plants won't be as good the second time or third time around as much as how good it would be the first time around. I don't think there's any actually nutrients within this. It just looks like a sponge to me. In fact, let me see. I mean, it just smells like a sponge as well. So you just have to make sure if you're going to reuse these to completely pull the seed and the roots out, just so you're not contaminating the seeds that you're putting into this. But it is recommended that you use these only once. Okay, in order to clean the water pump, all you have to do is remove the extendable rod. So, just remove the top at least. Then remove the cover. Then you take the sponges that are surrounding the water pump out and you just wash those out with water and put them back. So you don't necessarily have to wash the pump itself, but the sponges around the pump. Okay, so let's turn this thing on. I guess if there's no water in it, it will let you know, and it's definitely annoying. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. But it does have a nice LED display, which is pretty clear, which is always nice. Okay, so it looks like these sticks are rods that you would stick into it. I'm not sure what they're for. And then you've also got an identification card. So rods definitely go into these little holes. Oh, okay. So these rods are for helping to keep your plants standing upright. So if you're growing things like tomatoes, which need to be managed, because if not, they'll grow everywhere. You can use these rods to keep your plants growing in an upward direction and, just really support the plants and the leaves that you've got. So that's what these rods are for. And they've got all these holes on the top here where you can just plant these rods in different areas. So if you need them, they've got them there. They've also got these identification cards so you can know what plants you're growing. So there's several of these identification cards, so I think you can use dry eraser markers to just label these and then stick them into the sponges themselves, which is helpful if you're growing a number of different herbs or vegetables in this system. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this thing out. So one thing I did notice about this hydroponic system is that it did not come with seeds. So rather than them telling you which seeds are best or which vegetables or fruits are best to grow in here, it's pretty much open for you to grow whatever you want. Unlike some other hydroponic systems where they'll come with initial set of starter seeds, and then really through that it helps you determine what vegetables. Typically what's included are herbs such as rosemary, basil, things like that. But this one is really open to you to decide what you want to grow in this hydroponic system. So I'm going to go and grab some seeds and we'll plant them, we'll stick them in these sponges, and then we'll see how this thing works. Okay, so there's no real instructions that indicates how to start this thing, so I guess I'm going at it alone to figure out how I should start this out, because the instructions don't really tell you. It's just really how to use the unit and how to apply the nutrients, but it doesn't really tell you how to start. So I'm guessing along the way. So what I did initially was I filled the water all the way up to the max level, which is 5.5 liters, which tells me that I should be using 25 milliliters of A plus 25 milliliters of B. So I guess, since I'm starting out, I'm gonna experiment, and hopefully I'm doing this thing right and these plants will start growing. So I decided that I would start with oregano, parsley, sweet basil, this Genovese basil, and then cilantro, because I know that these are all herbs that I use regularly, or me and my wife use regularly, and because I know they grow well indoors or in any environment, and it's a good test without overgrowing too much outside of this smaller hydroponic system. So that means that I'm not going to be using all the pots or all the holes in this, so there are some that I'm probably going to fill up. And as these start to grow, I'll probably start populating and adding more vegetables or fruit as I continue to move forward. Just don't want to put everything in there all at once and then find it doesn't work or it doesn't grow well. So we'll do that and start with these first, and then we'll go and see how that works out. As for getting started, let's go ahead and take these, fill them up with water, and apply the suggested amount of nutrients to this reservoir. So in just a sec, I'll be right back and we'll fill this up. Okay, so now that I've filled the plant A and plant B nutrient bottles up with water, which by the way, it doesn't tell you how much water to fill it up with, so I just filled them pretty much to the top. I'm gonna shake them up and let the nutrients dissolve. And I can still hear the particles, so I guess you keep shaking until you don't hear the particles from the nutrients anymore, which I don't know how long it is, so hopefully I'm not hearing nutrients bounce around anymore, so I'm guessing that they dissolved. Okay, so based on the instructions, 5 liters is 25 milliliters of A. Oh, so I guess I have to uncork the top. So 25 milliliters of A, so this goes up to 15. So it's this little yellow color, yellowish color, if you can see. So that's 15, so 10 more. And since I filled it up to 5.5, I'm going to guess maybe 30 instead of, so I'll just do 2 cups of 15. Okay, so that's nutrient A, now in the tank. Now for nutrient B, which is also 30 milliliters, well 25, but since it's 5.5 milliliters, I'm going to put 30. Okay. Okay, so 2 cups of this as well, 2 full cups of this as well. And this has a little bit of a pink color to it. So that's 15. And another 15. And we'll just let that sit there and dissolve. It also does not say how frequently you're supposed to refill this. But if I learned anything from my previous hydroponics, I think every 3 weeks would be a good amount of time before you need to reapply the nutrients. And I guess that also depends on how many plants and pods you've got in this as well. So we'll go ahead and put this lid on there for now. And then we'll start putting some seeds in these little sponges. Okay, so we'll start with some cilantro. And these are pretty big seeds. So cilantro, drop it in the hole. Maybe I'll put 2 in there. So typically, you want to put 1 or 2, just in case one seed does not grow, because it's just going to push it aside anyways. Then we'll take one of the cups, and we'll put it inside. And cilantro. I guess as it absorbs water, it will sink. We'll do 2 cilantros. So 2 seeds. 2 cilantros. I think you can. Seems to take a little while for these to absorb the water, but it eventually will. Yeah, it's starting to stay in place, so that's good. And I would assume they expand. Okay. Then we'll put these cups over them. And I'm going to assume you're going to want to cover all these holes just to make sure that the water doesn't evaporate. So 2 cilantros. So I'm not sure where this label goes. We'll just stick it there for now, cilantros. So dry eraser marker board. Okay, so we'll label this one cilantro. Right, cilantro, yep. And we'll just stick it there. And these are little black seeds, little small seeds. So I'm just going to dump a handful of them into the hole. Actually, these cups serve pretty good to hold the seeds as well, I guess. So those are the Genovese basil. Okay, so that's the basil there. All right. Then we've got sweet basil, which is similar to the Genovese basil, looking at the seeds. It's amazing that these little seeds can turn into huge plants. I'll just put this. And for this sweet basil, I'll just do like 3 of them, just so I'm using up all this space here. These seeds are so small that I can't even tell if they're going into that tube. And until they start soaking, they're just going to continue to keep popping out, so. And again, the reason why I'm putting the lids on. And again, the reason why I'm putting these lids on is to help germinate the seeds and keep the moisture from escaping. Go ahead and label this. And I'll just put this here. And hopefully I'll remember that these 3 are sweet basils. Then we'll get some oregano. Man, these are even smaller. It's like dust. Okay, so that's oregano. I don't even know how I'm going to get these little seeds in there. They're like microparticle seeds. They're just all over the place. Probably gonna have oregano growing in the office now too. Okay. I think I put enough seeds in there. But that is oregano. And this one, it's kind of difficult to just get to, so I'm just gonna grab a pinch full and just drop it in there. And hopefully it all made it into that hole. Okay, so that's oregano. Oregano. There's seeds everywhere on this table. There's a bit of static cling to these seeds as well. So they're just sticking onto this plastic lid. Okay, so oregano. Okay, last is parsley. And there's still some oregano seeds in there, so I'm probably going to end up with some oregano in the parsley. Okay, so parsley. Okay. Parsley. Actually, I'll put the parsley on the edge here. Okay, so this is the oregano, which has nowhere for me to put this, so I'm going to stick it, I guess right there, like that. And then parsley, which I will stick here. Okay, so the parsley did help to get some of those oregano seeds out, but now I've got oregano seeds in my parsley bag. Okay, with the final two, I'm going to grow rosemary and romaine lettuce. And I probably should have put more romaine lettuce in this, but you know, I can always replace it once it starts growing, just because I know we eat lettuce more than we use these herbs. So now that we've got a grill, I'm going to use a lot of rosemary potentially. So let's see how this works. Okay, so rosemary. Okay. We'll put the two rosemaries in the front. And then we'll put the romaine lettuce in the back. Rosemary in the front. Lettuce grew amazingly well in my DIY hydroponic system, so I'm going to hope they grow well here as well. Oh, that's a lot. So the sponges left. Romaine lettuce 1. And romaine lettuce 2. Okay, so it looks like it did not come in with enough lids to cover the remaining pods, which is weird, I guess. So I'm gonna have some, maybe I can just temporarily put these on top. Oh well, if not, I guess not all of these require these. Maybe I just doubled up on some of them. Because they are, yep, I did. They're pretty thin. So I did double up on some of them. So there were enough lids. In fact, I think you got more than you need, because I do have some that I did double up on. So they give you plenty of these little lids to cover up. So okay, so this is the completed and filled up pot. So now let's go ahead and download the app and set this thing up. So I'll need my phone. All right, so what's good is that for the app, there is a barcode within the instructions itself, which will take you directly to the app to download. So we'll use my camera. Download the iOS version. The LetPot app. Now I do wonder though, if this thing does have a heating pad on the bottom to keep the water warm, because the water in there right now is cold, and I'm not sure if these seeds will grow when it's not warm. So I'm not sure if the LEDs themselves will also provide the warmth that these seeds will need. So we'll see though. Okay. So let's go ahead and sign up. Okay, I'm gonna check for the verification code. Okay, so to set this app up, let's read the instructions. Right, so power it on, and no loud beep this time, which means it detects that there's water in there. It's set to vegetable and herbs. The pump is on. Set 27 degrees Celsius, 28. I guess it tells you the temperature of the water. Let's change that to Fahrenheit. So that's 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so press the setup button for 3 seconds. Okay, hear a beep. So it switches it to scan mode, so I guess that's what that blinking line indicator is. Okay, so we click Add Device on the app itself. We'll search for it. So I'm assuming this thing uses Bluetooth to connect. So you see the device, and then it'll initialize. And I can hear the pump working. It looks like the temperature is getting a little warmer for the water. It's now at 82 degrees. Okay, and then we're going to connect it to our Wi-Fi. So it looks like this app and this hydroponic system does not support 5G, so you have to set it up with your 2.4 gigahertz network. We'll connect it to our Wi-Fi. And while it's setting up the Wi-Fi, this hydroponic system, I noticed, is fairly quiet. There is a little rumble. I guess that's the pump just blowing in there. Okay, so looks like its Wi-Fi is connected. It says the device is, okay, device is now on. 0 days, 16 hours, lighting and day. Okay, so I guess I have to put the lid back on because the lights will not work. Wow, that's bright. Okay, so the LED mode is currently set for vegetables and spices, so you can change it to flowers and fruits as well. But because I do have vegetables in there, I'm just going to leave it on vegetables and spices. You can set the on time and off time. You can manually turn the pump off and on. Planting days. It's been 0 days since we planted, so you know, you want to make sure. So this thing keeps track of how long you've. So the good thing about this app, I guess that's what those up and down arrows are for the Celsius and Fahrenheit, is to set the planting days. So since I just planted these, it's on day 0. So it does keep track of how long it's been since you planted these seeds. So you can, I guess, keep track of the amount of days. Okay, it's got the picture of the device itself. There's a guide in here. I guess it helps walk through. I guess it's a digital version of the instruction manual. Settings. You can change the name of the device. It tells you the network that it's connected to. Other than that, there's not much else to this app. And then you can, of course, track the plants that you have, so you can add a plant. And then as well as the location, and just kind of build a profile for your plants. Other than that, I guess there's not much else to this app, but the good thing is I guess you can control the hydroponic system manually. And because this is a new planting, I'm just going to set this LED down to the lowest point it is, and as the plants start to grow, I guess I'll raise this up as the plants grow. All right, so this is the LPH-Pro Smart Hydroponic System from LetPot. So we've got the thing set up, we've got the seeds placed in the device itself. Now we'll just go ahead and let these sit there for the next few days and see how it works. I assume the lights are going to automatically turn on and off by themselves through 30-minute intervals because I haven't adjusted the settings. and the water is going to continue to circulate and flow because the pump inside, which I can hear, is working. The temperature, I'm not sure if it regulates itself, but hopefully it's not going to make much of a difference. But we'll go back and check on this every few days to see how the plants are progressing and if we get any kind of growth. Other than that, I think this is a pretty quality product. For the price of $200, I think it's fairly reasonable, just because you do get an LED system, you get pretty much everything you need minus the seeds to get started. It's a self-contained system that you can place in your kitchen, so when these actually do start growing, you don't have to go outside to cut your herbs, you don't have to worry about bugs or anything, and you can just grow these vegetables within the comfort of your own home. Now, does it work? I'm going to assume that it will work in some cases, but then that depends on the quality of the seeds I also placed in this thing. But for the most part, it does have everything you need to start growing your vegetables and fruit. But of course, we'll see how it turns out and how this thing works over the next few weeks, days, months, and then report back. Okay guys, so I've been using this hydroponics pot from LetPot for 6 days now. At least I think it's been, 6 days. So I haven't had to touch this thing at all since I filled it up with water, put the initial nutrients in it, and turned it on. So what's nice about this thing is it automatically circulates the water, and it also automatically turns on and off the lights based on certain intervals that you have set, depending on whatever plants you're growing. So as you'll notice, I've got a couple of different types of basil that are actually growing and starting to sprout. I've got some oregano that's starting to sprout, which is cool. I've got some parsley as well as some cilantro that's starting to sprout. So this seems to be working pretty well. Now what's also cool is as these things, plants or vegetables start to grow, and if they grow too tall, I can extend this LED lamp all the way up a higher level so that the plants can continue to grow. What's nice is this thing also tells you when the water level is low and needs to be refilled, or if you need to refill or add nutrients. So very automated, which is pretty nice, and it's super quiet. The pump, you can't hear it at all. The app is nice because it also gives you tips as well as lets you know the status of your plants growing, as well as keeps track of how long since you've planted the seeds and how long they've been growing. So just keeps a log of everything. I'd say this is a pretty cool little kitchen appliance where you can store and grow your fresh vegetables on your countertop. So right now we have it in our pocket office, but we're planning to move it into the kitchen area so that we at some point will have fresh vegetables that we can just pick and it'll just continuously grow. So in the end, I know it's a little too soon to say, but it's doing what it's supposed to right now, and I do see the vegetables growing, but as it continues to grow, we'll update everyone on how this hydroponics pod from LetPot is working. Would I recommend this? I'd say for now, yeah, it's pretty nice to have. Although, sometimes when the lights come on, it's a little inconvenient because the lights are bright and they will brighten up an entire area. So if this bright light bothers you, there are some times when this light will be on when you walk by and you're just like, wow, it's just in your face. But other than that, I think as the vegetables start to grow, the natural light of the kitchen will start to help keep them alive, and you won't necessarily have to use the LED. But initially, the LEDs do help the plants grow. It also gives you the temperature of the water as well. So it regulates the temperature of the water to make sure that you've got the perfect amount of nutrients, the right temperature, and the right amount of water to keep the plants growing and healthy. Same thing with the light. Anyways, we'll keep track of this and do an update in some later videos, but other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. It took a couple days to film. I didn't want to drag it too long, but we will do some updates on this as this garden of vegetables starts to grow. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please make sure you go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. Please also make sure you ring that bell icon to get notified when I post new content. Your support means a lot. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, see ya.